boy oh boy, is it getting tough to live in this country. It is so expensive. And if they weren't raising that with me, they were saying to me, what is going on with law and order in this country? Why have we lost that basic sense of responsibility? And why is it that shop owners need to fear for their business and their safety every day? And when people raised those issues with me, they very quickly said this: and I am sick of hearing people say they're going to do things and failing to deliver. And what New Zealand needs this year is a government that will get things done. And so it gives me great pleasure to be part of a party led by a man whose track record throughout his life, throughout his business career, and frankly during his time as leader of this party, is to get things done. National's leader is a man who delivers, whether it was leading big global businesses, whether it was leading Air New Zealand, or whether it was uniting this team. Chris Luxon doesn't just talk the talk, he walks the walk. And so it's my pleasure this morning to introduce to you the man I know we're all working hard to make the next Prime Minister of New Zealand, Christopher Luxon.
Good morning, everyone. It is good to be back together again, isn't it? And we've had a great session this morning, and I know it was great engagement, and we had good fun, we had great discussion and good debate, and I really appreciate doing that. Can I say thank you, Nicola, for the very warm welcome. It is great to be in this great enterprise of getting our country turned around, sorted, and getting things done together as a partnership. And it's wonderful to all of us to be here in Napier, and we are here in Napier because this is an electorate that we intend to win back. And if we work hard, we make the case to the great people of Napier, we can get this back to be represented by the National Party. And regardless of the rain, it's actually good for us to be together because we're going to have some time to talk about the year ahead and to focus on the year ahead. We've started those conversations, we've got many more of it over the next 2 days, and I'm looking forward to that as well. And I think we start this year actually in good part. If you think about the progress that we made together as a team over the last 12 months, I think we did some things incredibly well. We refreshed and renewed our party under new leadership under Sylvia and our board. We came together as a team and we used all the immense talent that sits in our caucus, and we've got the right people on the right assignments, with everybody able to play as a team and to be able to make a contribution. And we've been able to attract incredibly talented, smart people who want to come and work and partner with us to help us go change our country and realise the potential that we have in it. And so we start from a good space. But I have to tell you, you know me quite well, I'm constructively dissatisfied. And so we turn the page, start a new chapter, and this year it's really clear. There's a line in sight called an election coming. We can debate whether it's October 7th or whether it's November or whenever it will be, but it's coming, and we need to be really clear-minded about making the case to the New Zealand people why they will do better with us as a national government. Now, I guess I'd say to you guys, and I know many of you get asked something similar, but the question that I get asked typically every day, sometimes multiple times a day, is, Chris, look, you seem like a nice guy, you've got a great family, you had a good career, why politics? And that's a question that I know many of you as MPs get asked as well in some form or another. And behind that question, you've got to strip it back. There's actually some cynicism and some understandable cynicism when people ask us that question. And what they're really saying is, look, I hear a lot of politicians that are long on rhetoric and short on substance. I hear a lot of spin, but I don't see a lot of delivery. And I see a government and politicians that don't get things done that enable me or help me to be able to get ahead as an everyday New Zealander. And I think that's the challenge that we need to keep focused on. It's not about us, it's not about the bubble and the beltway of Wellington, it's about the New Zealand people that we are here to serve. That's why we take these jobs on, it's why we come in to do public service, to be able to help our fellow Kiwis to do incredibly well. So I think the thing I'd say is that in the great privileged position I have as leader of the National Party over the last year or so, I would give you two observations. And the first is that you know my story. I get out of Wellington as quickly as possible on a Wednesday night or Thursday morning. I go to 2 or 3 towns on a Thursday, a Friday, and sometimes a Saturday. And I have some observations. And the first I'd say to you is, this is the best country on planet Earth in the world, period. And we have endless potential in this country. And I get to say that because as I go around the country seeing real everyday New Zealanders, I get to meet incredible people. And I see incredible people in the community who see the pain and the hurt and the frustration and the need, and they've decided to go deal with that and to help their fellow New Zealander incredibly well. I see young people and young entrepreneurs who have ambition and aspiration and want to build world-class businesses from New Zealand out into the world. And I meet with everyday Kiwis who actually are working incredibly hard, raising their kids to the best of their ability, contributing to their communities, and trying to get ahead and deal with all the ups and downs and the inevitabilities of life. And I feel incredibly inspired about that, because what I get to see is some talented, creative, determined New Zealanders who want to be able to get ahead. I get to be able to also get a sense that actually we are all in this together, that there is some obligation, we are mutually obligated to each other across New Zealand. We're a country of 5 million people, and we have this obligation to each other. We are invested in each other's success, and a sense that we are all in it together, working together to be able to realise the potential that we've got in this country. So on the one hand, I feel incredibly optimistic, more optimistic and positive than I've ever felt about the future of this great country. The reason I came to politics was because I want us to realise that potential individually and collectively as a country. But on the other hand, I have to tell you, after travelling up and down the country, I feel utterly and completely that we are heading in the wrong direction. There is no doubt about it. That if we're really honest with ourselves, we're not actually realising all that endless potential that we have in this country. We're not actually solving the problems that actually makes people's lives easier and actually helps them get ahead. And if we're really honest, we're actually not being able to get things done as a government. This government is not getting things done that actually helps regular New Zealanders be able to get themselves ahead. So that's the reality of sort of where I feel the country is at. Huge potential, but so utterly, totally going in the wrong direction. And our job in this room as a National Party caucus and as National Party MPs is to actually show up this year and to work incredibly hard for New Zealanders and to show them that we have the competence, the ideas and the team to be able to help them do better under a national government come the end of 2023. And I think when you've got a time like we have in our history, right here, right now, with a huge amount of global and domestic uncertainty, what the people of New Zealand want is a national government that's going to strengthen our economy so that we actually have the foundation in place to be able to strengthen things like health and education and to be able to restore law and order in this country. And I just want you to take a step out of your shoes and take a step out of the bubble of Wellington and actually put yourself in the shoes of what it feels like to be a New Zealander in this coming year. Imagine what it's going to be like. We saw this week record low levels of business confidence since 1970, the lowest ever since 1970. We are seeing rapidly rising levels of interest rates because we have really stubborn and high levels of inflation. We're going to see the prospects of actually this country and this economy going into recession, which is incredibly frightening when we think about no economic growth, slowing economic growth, and possibly recession. And at the same time, we're going to be faced with rising levels of unemployment. And just think about that's the reality for many New Zealanders as they are looking ahead for the year ahead. And our job is to say, how do we rise to those challenges that we see and actually provide the solutions to be able to help them resolve those and resolve them in the countries so they can actually get ahead. So I think for us, we're going to be single-mindedly focused on a clear set of priorities that I think is what the New Zealand public expect from us to be able to deliver as their government right here, right now, of where we are in this moment in history and our history of New Zealand. And that means that we're going to focus on 4 things, essentially. The first is that we are going to reduce the cost of living. Because if we don't tackle inflation, it gets a grip in an economy and it destroys livelihoods and it ruins an economy and it really has huge pain and suffering for people. And we're starting to see that, and if we don't deal with that, it's going to be a big problem. But Nicola and I have been talking about this for now a year. We've been saying, hey, listen, there were amber dash lights showing up on the dash. That was saying, like, pull up, sort it out, make an adjustment, start to change, start to move the levers around. And yet now we're actually faced with some pretty big challenges. And so our plan is still relevant. Don't pass costs on to businesses that need to get passed on to consumers with higher prices. Make sure that we remove the bottlenecks, the immigration bottlenecks that are actually constraining growth. Because economic growth is going to be what we desperately need as we go to recession to power this country and this economy back into growth. And so we need to make sure we release those immigration settings. Have disciplined spending. Make sure that every dollar delivers an outcome, not just is spent, but actually counts for something and improves people's daily lives. We do believe in inflation-adjusted tax brackets. We also think we should have the Reserve Bank's single-minded focus on fighting inflation. That's how we have it, an inflation-fighting plan that's really there to make sure we can reduce the cost of living crisis that people are facing. The second big point that we have to deliver on is, as I said, because we are having failing levels of economic growth and actually increasingly the risk of recession, we have to find a way to be able to grow this economy. That's the way we're going to deal with it. And in the process, we grow this economy and we grow incomes for all is really what we have to do. And again, we talked about this early last year. We had a 5-point plan about our prosperity plan, about how we drive economic growth and actually collective prosperity for all New Zealanders. And that means 5 things. We have to invest in education so our kids are set up to be able to realise the opportunities that they have in front of them, and this country will have in front of it over the next 20 to 50 years. We have to make sure that we are invested in our infrastructure and that we're building a future New Zealand that actually is going to be more productive, because we know when we invest in infrastructure, it has economic and social and environmental benefits at the same time. We have to really invest in science and innovation and technology so we create those higher value New Zealand products and services that we can go sell to the world to realise higher prices, which in turn drive to higher wages and salaries. We have to make sure that we can actually power up our businesses, because businesses are the lifeblood of New Zealand. And it's difficult being a business person in New Zealand. We have turned the country into a country of bureaucrats, and we need to liberate it so that business people can get on, grow their businesses, employ people, get higher wages, and power the economy up as we desperately need. And the final thing is we've got to deepen our international connections, because we talk about it often. We do not get rich selling stuff to each other here in New Zealand. We have fabulous New Zealand products and services, and we sit in the best part of the world. If you were to design a country and where to put it, you'd put it where we are, because the power economically and socially and culturally has moved from the Atlantic to the Pacific. And we are surrounded by the Americas, Asia and Australia, and with huge opportunities to sell our products and services to burgeoning middle classes up and down our part of the world and our region. So that's what we've got to do. We've got to focus on reducing the cost of living. We have to make sure that we are raising and lifting incomes for all through driving through greater economic prosperity and growth. But we also have to restore law and order, because it's rather perverse. 5 minutes away from a Labour Party conference on Wednesday night, another dairy was ram-raided here in Napier. And we'll go and visit, Mark and I'll go visit some of the ram-raided victims actually tomorrow. But I can tell you, it's perverse that it's happening. And the question is, are we happy to accept that a 20% increase in violent crime, 50% growth in gangs, a ram raid happening every 15 hours is the new normal here in New Zealand? We get to choose to have a different response to that. It doesn't have to become Southside Chicago, New Zealand. This is New Zealand. We do get to choose that it could be different, and we could make it so. So that's why you've seen our work about we're going to back our police. We back our police big time. We want to make sure they've got the tools and support that they need to be able to get on and do the job. We are serious about tackling gangs. There is nothing good about a gang. They want all the rights of being in New Zealand, but none of the responsibilities that go with that. And ultimately, we're going to make sure that we actually have a policy that makes interventions in young people's lives serious young offenders, so that we can actually get them sorted and understanding that there are rights and responsibilities to New Zealand. And that's the point. We have rights and things that we get as Kiwis, but we also have responsibilities to each other and to our country. That's the social contract that we've had with each other since we formed this great country some time ago. I think the other thing, and final thing I'd say to you, is that we have to focus on how do we deliver better education and healthcare and frontline services to New Zealand people. Because at the moment we're in a perverse situation. Spend more, hire more, worse outcomes: economy, health, housing, education, crime. It's a unique and unique skill set, to actually have more money, more resources, and deliver worse outcomes. And the New Zealand people, that's how we get to improve their lives. It's all about outcomes. You can talk about it as much as you like. You can have the best intentions, but if you can't deliver, and I honestly believe it's not personal, this government hasn't got the skill or the ability to be able to deliver and to be able to get things done. We're competent, we know how to deliver things, we know how to get things done and better outcomes for the New Zealand people. And so for us, it's about moving the money out of the bureaucracy in Wellington and getting it to the front line. Mental health, we've talked about it all year. We have a problem in New Zealand with mental health. We've got to go get the money to the front line, to the people that desperately need it and use it. We've got to be able to get our money out of the bureaucracy to the teachers, to the nurses, to the front line in our healthcare and our education systems. So that's why it's important to us that we actually fundamentally understand that we are here to strengthen our economy so that we can actually deal with the cost of living crisis, lift incomes for all, restore law and order, and make sure that we get better health and education outcomes for the New Zealand people. I think you probably said it, and Nicola sort of alluded to it in her opening remarks, but I think that the public are giving up on Labour. I hear it, you probably heard it over summer, and I honestly just don't think that they get it, is kind of my takeaway. And I think they are so locked into a Wellington, Beltway and bubble and that perspective on the world that it means that they get locked into ideological pet projects and good intentions, and actually it's not what everyday New Zealanders are asking for right here, right now. That's what the agenda we just talked about, our priorities, is what they desperately need right now. And I think it's after 5 years of doing nothing, it's quite cynical politics, because I expect in the next few weeks we're going to have Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern come out and say, look, I'm sorry about the last 5 years, but I'm really going to focus this year because it's election year. It turns out that under some public pressure and bad press and bad polls and political opposition, also this is going to be the year, the true year of delivery this time. We're really going to focus it. So, it's cynical politics, right, when you want to go clear the deck. So, I would say if you expect to see TVNZ and RNZ merger overturned and kiboshed, expect to see, income insurance, national, unemployment insurance actually delayed. Ideally, we should see Three Waters stopped on. We should see light rail stopped on as well, if you want to get really focused on what's important and matters most to New Zealanders. They want us to deliver, they want us to get things done, they want us to deal with the cost of living, they want us to lift their incomes, they want us to restore law and order, and they want better public services and health and education in particular. So I think we'll see some cynical politics, but I just say to you, focus on the prize that we've got in front of us, which is our job is to represent New Zealand people, to do what we came here to do, which is public service, and that will serve us well. We have a great country. We have the best country, as I said, on planet Earth. It is, we are so blessed and lucky to be able to live here and call this home. And we have a huge amount of potential in front of us. It is so exciting, and I feel very positive and optimistic about it. And I think all of us should feel that. We just have to go to work now and actually deal with the challenges that we've got, solve the problems for the New Zealand people, help them to be able to get ahead. And I think if we can be the government, we want to be the government that gets things done so that New Zealanders can get ahead. If we do our job right in the coming year, we're going to make our case incredibly strongly to New Zealand people. We've got a lot of work ahead of us, but that's exactly how it should be. They want us working for them, and that's what we're going to do. Thanks for your time. Enjoy the rest of the day.
We've got a 2-minute interlude while media.
Don't say it with such disdain.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We've got time for that.